Imagine this. You're in the prime of life, but the one dream that defines you, building a family, leaving a legacy, slips further away with every passing year. The clock ticks louder, whispers of doubt turn into echoes of despair. Now, multiply that by decades. That's where our story begins, not in some fairy tale, but in the raw, unfiltered pages of ancient history. Today, we're diving into the epic saga of Abraham and Sarah, a tale of faith stretched to its limits, promises that defy logic, and a test that shakes the soul. This isn't just a Bible story. It's a mirror to our own battles with patience, trust, and sacrifice. Grab your coffee, settle in, because by the end, you might just question what you give up for the impossible. Let's journey back to the cradle of civilizations. In the ancient land of Ur, nestled between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, lived a man named Abram, later known as Abraham. He was no ordinary wanderer. God had called him out of his comfortable life with a staggering promise. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. But there was a catch. Abraham and his wife Sarah, whom some traditions recall by her earlier name, but we'll stick with the heart of her story, were childless. Sarah was barren, a word that carried the weight of shattered dreams in those times. Years turned into decades, and the couple grew old. Abraham hitting the 75, Sarah not far behind. Yet God's whisper lingered. A nation as numerous as the stars would come from them. Picture the scene. Dust-swept tents glowing under the moon, the air thick with the scent of campfires and livestock. Sarah, strong-willed and beautiful even in her advancing years, watched as other women cradled infants, their laughter a dagger to her heart. How long, Lord? She must have prayed in the quiet nights. Abraham, ever the faithful patriarch, held on to hope, but doubt crept in like shadows at dusk. Desperation breeds bold ideas. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in fiery oranges, Sarah approached Abraham with tears in her eyes. "My love," she said, her voice trembling yet resolute, "the Lord has kept me from having children. Go, sleep with my Egyptian servant Hagar. Perhaps I can build a family through her." It was a custom of the time, surrogacy through a handmaid. But oh, the heartache it masked. Abraham, torn but agreeing, lay with Hagar. And soon the servant conceived. Joy mingled with tension in the camp. Hagar, now carrying Abraham's child, began to look down on her mistress. Sarah's jealousy flared like a desert storm. "This is your fault," she cried to Abraham. "May the Lord judge between you and me." Abraham, caught in the crossfire, gave Sarah free rein. Harsh words flew, and Hagar fled into the wilderness, pregnant and alone. But God sees the overlooked. An angel found Hagar by a spring, whispering comfort. "You are now pregnant and will give birth to a son. You shall name him Ishmael, for the Lord has heard of your misery. He will be a wild donkey of a man. His hand will be against everyone, and everyone's hand against him." Hagar returned, humbled, and bore Ishmael to Abraham when he was 86. For a moment, the promise seemed fulfilled. A son. Laughter echoed in the tents, but this was only the prelude to a greater miracle. Fast forward 13 years. Abraham is now 99, Sarah 89, ages where most would resign to fate. But God isn't done. One scorching afternoon, as Abraham sat at the entrance of his tent near the great trees of Mamre, 3 mysterious visitors appeared, angels in human form, with the Lord himself among them. Hospitality was sacred. Abraham rushed to prepare a feast, fresh bread, tender calf, curds, and milk. As they ate, the Lord spoke. "Where's your wife Sarah?" Abraham pointed to the tent. Then came the bombshell. "I will surely return to you about this time next year, and Sarah, your wife, will have a son." Inside the tent, Sarah overheard and laughed bitterly to herself. "After I am worn out and my Lord is old, will I now have this pleasure?" she thought. But the Lord heard. Why did Sarah laugh? Is anything too hard for the Lord? At the appointed time, I will return, and Sarah will have a son. Sarah denied it out of fear, but the promise stood firm. The visitors departed toward Sodom, but not before revealing more of God's plan. Abraham, ever the intercessor, pleaded for the wicked city, bargaining like a marketplace trader. What if there are 50 righteous? 40? 10? God's mercy shone through, but that's a tale for another day. True to the word, the impossible happened. Sarah conceived and bore a son to Abraham in his old age, exactly as promised. They named him Isaac, meaning he laughs, a joyful nod to Sarah's incredulous chuckle. "God has brought me laughter," Sarah declared, "and everyone who hears about this will laugh with me." The camp erupted in celebration, feasts, songs, the bleating of lambs offered in thanks. Isaac grew strong, a cherished child, the heir to the promise. Abraham circumcised him at 8 days old, sealing the covenant with God. But as Isaac weaned and toddled into boyhood, perhaps around 5 or 10 years old, full of energy and curiosity, the family dynamics shifted. At a great feast for Isaac, Ishmael mocked the young heir. Sarah's protective instincts ignited. "Get rid of that slave woman and her son," she demanded of Abraham, "for that woman's son will never share in the inheritance with my son Isaac." Abraham's heart broke. This was his firstborn after all. But God intervened. "Listen to whatever Sarah tells you, because it is through Isaac that your offspring will be reckoned. I will make the son of the slave into a nation also, because he is your offspring." With heavy sorrow, Abraham sent Hagar and Ishmael away early the next morning with food and water. They wandered the desert of Beersheba until supplies ran out. Hagar wept, placing Ishmael under a bush to die. But God heard the boy's cry, opening Hagar's eyes to a well of water. Ishmael survived, growing into an archer, the father of a great nation, the Ishmaelites. Peace settled over Abraham's household. Isaac flourished under his parents' watchful eyes, learning to tend flocks, hearing tales of God's faithfulness, playing in the sun-baked fields. Abraham, now over 100, taught him the ways of faith, the stars as witnesses to their destiny. Yet the greatest test loomed. One fateful day God called out, "Abraham." "Here I am," he replied. Then the command that pierces the heart, "Take your son, your only son whom you love, Isaac, and go to the region of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on a mountain I will show you. Can you feel the weight?" Abraham, the father of faith, faced the unthinkable. No explanation, no loophole. Early the next morning he rose, split wood for the offering, saddled his donkey, and set out with Isaac and 2 servants. For 3 agonizing days they traveled, Abraham's mind a whirlwind of questions, yet his steps steady in obedience. On the 3rd day the mountain appeared. "Stay here," Abraham told the servants. "The boy and I will go over there, worship, and come back to you." Notice the faith. "We will come back." Isaac carried the wood, Abraham the fire and knife. As they climbed, Isaac innocently asked, "Father, We have the fire and wood, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering? Abraham's voice steady, laced with unspoken pain. God himself will provide the lamb, my son. They reached the summit. Abraham built an altar, arranged the wood, bound Isaac, now a willing participant, trusting his father, and laid him on it. Knife raised, the moment hung in eternity. But then, Abraham, Abraham! An angel's voice thundered from heaven. Do not lay a hand on the boy. Do not do anything to him. Now I know that you fear God because you have not withheld from me your son, your only son. Relief flooded like a river. Abraham looked up, a ram caught in a thicket by its horns. He sacrificed it instead, naming the place the Lord will provide. God reaffirmed the promise, because you have done this and have not withheld your son, your only son, I will surely bless you and make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and as the sand on the seashore. Isaac descended that mountain, changed, a symbol of resurrection, of faith's triumph over death. He grew into a man of peace, fathering Esau and Jacob, carrying the lineage forward. And there it is, the story of Abraham and Sarah, from barren hopes to bountiful legacy, culminating in a sacrifice that wasn't about loss, but about ultimate trust. It's a reminder. Sometimes the greatest promises demand the deepest surrender. What in your life feels impossible? What test are you facing? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Have you experienced a Moriah moment? If this resonated, hit like, subscribe for more timeless tales with modern twists, and share with someone who needs encouragement. Until next time, keep the faith alive. God bless.